Hakeem Olufemi Gbajabiamila. God bless you all. This House of Representatives had a security summit some time ago. An all-important security summit. Everybody was there.
House leaders meet service chiefs and ministers over escalating security challenges.
To allow the government to be able to run a full package of its capital component in the budget.
Plus, lawmakers amend 2021 Appropriation Act, extend implementation of capital component to May 2022. The House of Representatives, in a show of concern over insecurity in the nation, met with service chiefs as well as with the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi. Up for discussion was the rising cases of insecurity and the search for a solution to the problem. House Ticket has details of that meeting. Epileptic power supply, outrageous cost of diesel, and other petroleum products, amongst other national issues, were amongst those discussed by lawmakers and which we have captured on this episode of the program. My name is Firdausa Ahmed Wakili, welcoming you to another edition of House Ticket. I'll be back after the break with full details. Please stay tuned.
If we set our minds right, embrace each other in love and brotherhood, we will come through these troubling times. We will survive, we will recover, and then we will thrive. One nation under God, free, peaceful, and prosperous.
On Tuesday, the 5th of April 2022, leadership of the House of Representatives, led by its Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, played host to service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, Ministers of Transport and Aviation, amongst others. The meeting was at the instance of the lawmakers to interface with the security heads and other relevant agencies over the separate attacks by terrorists on Kaduna Airport and the Kaduna-bound train from Abuja recently. Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila set the ball rolling on the reasons for the meeting.
I think what we're trying to resolve here and figure out here is, what else can we do? Have we done enough? Where have we fallen short? Because nobody has a monopoly of knowledge. And we all here are government. Whether you're in the legislature, whether you're in the executive, whether you're military, we're all part of this government. And it's important that we put heads together to figure out how we rescue this country from where we are today. So I thought it was important to first of all acknowledge our security men and our ministers and so far what they've been doing. We must acknowledge, we must commend, and then we move into the difficult part of what are you doing or not doing that you're supposed to be doing, or what are you doing that you're not supposed to be doing, and what else can we do?
He also reminded the gathering of the far-reaching recommendations of the House Security Summit on how to address security challenges facing the country.
This House of Representatives had a security summit some time ago. An all-important security summit. Everybody was there, and we made some far-reaching resolutions, which we were all part of. Those resolutions were presented to Mr. President sometime last year by the whole leadership. And I believe many of the service chiefs were present, and you had copies of those resolutions. We want to find out how far with those resolutions, why have some not been implemented, what exactly is going on. And I'm sure many members are pregnant with questions, but it's important that those questions are well-meaning. They're not nobody, and I don't think I'm going to sit here and allow anybody to attack anybody.
Before the meeting went into a closed-door session, Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, and the Minister of Transport, Rotimi Amaechi, addressed the House.
Let me, on behalf of the service chiefs and all those on the defense and security team appreciate the speaker for this invitation, and we stand ready to answer the questions that you have for us with respect to solutions, collective solutions to the defense and security issues across the country. Thank you, Your Excellency, for this opportunity.
The responsibility of Ministry of Transport is essentially to provide transportation. Security lies outside Ministry of Transport. That's how I want to locate it, so that people will go with that information. Then the next thing I would locate publicly will be that yes, we did apply for surveillance, but you mentioned it here, and I may have to respond to that when the committee decides to ask questions on that, and to say that it is also not true that your lawmakers, there is no law that says if you want to do a 3 billion naira contract, your other business must have gotten to 10 billion naira. You can be 180 in terms of turnover and still do a 3 billion naira contract. Politicians have politicized that. The next thing to also reply is that there is no law in Nigeria that says that you have to be registered in 1980 to do contract in 2015 or 2020. You can be registered today and do a contract today. No law. So just to say that we should be able to separate politics from the realities of business. Thank you, Excellency, for this opportunity. Very much.
The rest of the meeting, which lasted nearly 4 hours, was held behind closed doors. Away from security, the House also considered several motions while also deliberating on bills at various stages. A bill to extend implementation of the capital component of the 2021 budget was one of such. For details from plenary of the week under review, let's take this report as presented from our studio. Keep watching.
Earlier during plenary of Tuesday, the 5th of April 2022, the House considered and voted on a matter of urgent public importance on the need to address the epileptic power supply in Nigeria. Chief Whip of the House, Representative Tahir Monguno, moved the motion.
Lack of adequate power supply retards our industrial growth and thereby also retarding our economic growth. It brings about job losses, because when industries do not operate up to maximum capacity, there is no way they are going to retain their workforce. Retrenchment will set in, and with all the attendant effect of insecurity and what have you. So for the singular fact that no economic development, no country attains cruising altitude in socio-economic development, there is need for us to upgrade our power supply, make it adequate.
This Parliament and the National Assembly, in the constitutional review that we have done, has also been upbeat regarding amending that section of the Constitution that makes it possible for the states to exercise some level of function regarding to electricity. So my own thinking is that if those bills have been forwarded, they should expeditiously be attended by the states as well as signed by Mr. President, so that in reality, the exercise of these functions, whether it's solar or whether it is transmission, will actually be devolved to competent hands.
The House resolved to urge the federal government to upgrade power supply and distribution, as well as seek better sources of power supply for the use of Nigerians. It also resolved to mandate the House Committee on Power to ensure compliance. In another motion, Representative John Okafor raised the need to address the outrageous rise in price of automotive gas oil known as diesel.
That almost all businesses and households in Nigeria depend on diesel power generators as an alternative source of electricity. Further notes the outrageous rise in the price of automotive gas oil as a product which was sold between 280 naira to 350 naira per litre just 3 weeks ago is currently being sold above 780 per litre and still rising on a daily basis, accounting for over 115.4% increase within just 3 weeks. Concerned that diesel was deregulated in 2009 with an initial price of 100 naira per litre, and between 2009 to date, Nigerians have witnessed a rising percentage increase in the price of the product.
As a resolution, the House mandated the Committees on Petroleum Resources Downstream, Petroleum Upstream and Gas Resources to investigate the unexplained astronomical increase in the price of diesel, with a view to ensuring that a reasonable price is fixed to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians and report back within 6 weeks for further legislative action. On his part, Representative Jude Nnaji moved a motion on the need to investigate the causes of deaths and permanent disability resulting from negligence of medical practitioners in Nigeria.
The House moved that the increase of reports of medical negligence in Nigeria is principally attributed to lack of sufficient medical practitioners and infrastructure in health sector. Also note that despite the increasing number of victims, there has been a low level of formal complaints and lawsuits for compensation due to ignorance, poverty, and in some cases, reluctance to seek redress against the offending medical practitioner.
The motion was adopted.
Ayes have it. Benue State Establishment Bill 2022, first reading.
Moving on to bills, 11 bills passed first reading in the Green Chamber. They include National Senior Secondary School Commission Bill 2022, Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act Amendment Bill 2022, National Polytechnics Commission Bill 2022.
National Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation Studies, Owerri, Imo State Establishment Bill 2022, first reading.
Similarly, 6 bills scaled second reading, while 3 passed for third reading.
I rise to move that a bill for an act to establish Federal Polytechnic, Tombia, for the training of graduates in sciences, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and for related matters, HB 133, be read the third time.
Among the bills that passed second reading are a bill for an act to make comprehensive provisions for seizure, confiscation, forfeiture, and management of properties derived from unlawful activities and for related matters, and a bill for an act to amend the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act 2011 and for related matters.
Mr. Speaker, these amendments give detailed timelines and prescribe penalties through regulations to keep up with the emerging trends. My dear colleagues, you are also aware that the Financial Regulating Council is a self-funding organ of government, and so it does not come through appropriation. Hence, the need to give it the necessary powers to operate and regulate the sector properly so that we will have a guaranteed investment and sector.
The bills were referred to the appropriate committees for further considerations. Wednesday, the 6th April 2022, plenary was presided over by Deputy Speaker Representative Ahmed Idris Wasi. The House considered a bill for an act to amend the Appropriation Act 2021 in order to extend the implementation year of the capital component of the Appropriation Act 2021 from 31st of March to 31st of May 2022 and for related matters.
I want to believe that this is a straightforward bill, which of course traditionally is intended to allow for completion and accomplishment of some of our capital projects as projected in the outgoing year. Mr. Speaker, it's a tradition because we have always had this kind of consideration to allow the government to be able to run a full package of its capital component in the budget. And for those reasons, Mr. Speaker, our sister chamber, the Senate, has done the same. And I want to understand that our colleagues can understand, in the spirit of that bicameral existence of this institution, that this bill should go with the speed of the light.
This bill is very self-explanatory. The bill deals with
the tenor of the 2021 Appropriation Act, and given that most of the components of what made up the 2021 budget are yet to be fully implemented, and most of the projects are ongoing. In effect, it means that if you stop it, it will have a very bad effect on those projects that are ongoing. Hence, this idea of bringing it up for the parliament that has the only sole right to alter the budget, the appropriation, has been brought before us to do that. So the essence of this is to do justice to this bill.
To expedite action on the bill, the House suspended its relevant rules and dissolved into the Committee of Supply for the consideration of the Appropriation Act 2021, seeking to extend the capital component from 31st of March 2022 to 31st of May 2022.
And I invite the leader to give the synopsis of the report.
It is a bill that is meant to amend the Appropriation Act 2021 to simply provide for this operational extension period so that some of the outstanding capital projects that are meant to benefit our people can be accomplished. Distinguished members of the House of Representatives, I want you to join Muhammadu Buhari on this amendment so that we can really succeed in some of the key components of the capital projects.
Respected colleagues, the question now is that the following clauses to stand part of our amendment. Clause 1, Clause 2.
When the House reverted to plenary, the bill was adopted and passed for third reading.
Committee of Supply be adopted. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Against say nay. That's have it.
Earlier on, lawmakers considered and voted on several bills at second reading. One of the bills was moved by Representative Olusegun Odebumi.
I rise this morning to move a bill for an act to establish Federal Polytechnic Ayede, Oyo State, and to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matter. Like I said in my submissions, that the bill, the Polytechnic has been declared by the President, and there's need for this House to have a legal framework for the institutions, and that's why I'm moving in today.
The bill passed second reading and referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education and Services. Another bill that scaled second reading was sponsored by lawmaker Jafaru Muhammad.
I rise to present a bill for an act to establish Hollywood Antoro University of Fisheries and Aquaculture, New Busa, to promote science-based research in fisheries and aquaculture and for related matters.
The bill passed second reading and was referred to the Committee on Agricultural Colleges and Institutions for further legislative deliberations.
Telephone subscribers and email addresses.
On motions, Representative Olushola Steve moved a motion on the need to protect telephone subscribers from breach of privacy, fraud, and loss of money.
Aware that the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation seeks to safeguard the right of natural persons to data privacy and foster safe conduct for transactions involving the exchange of personal data, among others.
Mr. Speaker, data. People make money from 1 naira to 2 and 3. By the time you underestimate those charges telecommunication subscribers are making on Nigerians, if you put in a committee today or ask Central Bank to give you the statistic of those money generated as a result of unused data or other subscription, you will see that we may not even need money to borrow and fund the budget for the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Telecommunication companies have access to all our data, and therefore it should be jealously protected so that no criminals should have access to those data and then use it for their fraudulent activities.
The House, after deliberations, resolved to mandate the Committee on Telecommunications and Banking and Currency to look into cases of people who have fallen victims to breach of privacy and identity theft to identify inadequacies in the relevant regulatory frameworks and profile solutions and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. One other motion considered in the week under review was brought to the floor by Representative Aminu Ashiru. Coming under a matter of urgent public importance, the lawmaker called on the House to ask NACON to suspend the Hajj savings scheme.
Concerned that there is lack of transparency, proper accountability in the Hajj savings scheme, failure to tackle it will lead to corruption in the system and disregard for the Eastern law.
Unfortunately, the Hajj Commission, against their own act, are now or have infiltrated into the funds, and which may cause hardship to the ordinary Nigerian who has contributed from his own hard-earned money, and that is why the House needs to come in to intervene.
Adopting the motion, the House mandated its Committee on Pilgrims Affairs to investigate the Hajj savings scheme and report back in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Speaker of the House has directed all standing and ad hoc committees to submit reports on assignments referred to them within 2 weeks or be discharged of their responsibilities.
The program is House Ticket. We shall continue with committee reports as we take a report from the House Committee on Upstream as it investigates the low level of production by the NNPC. Let's take the reports.
We have to do away with the issue of...
If there are challenges, you can always come to the National Assembly.
We must back that effort.
If there was only 2% left, why didn't the ministry inject some money for 20?
Why transferring for the same area that they have operated there? And you expect to come and clap for it?
The House Committee on Petroleum Upstream, led by its chairman, Musa Sarki Adar, has mounted investigation into the low level of production by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC. The investigative meeting took place at the complex of the National Assembly.
Acts of vandals and stealing of crude oil is not new. We have seen this pattern in 2003. We have seen it in 2012. It came up in 2014, and now we're seeing it. Some bit of cyclic nature, but clearly associated with rising price of crude oil. Every time you have high crude oil prices, you will see the act of vandals and thieves will escalate.
What is the status of the Bonny terminal, considering what you already told us you had to come, you came to zero level? What is the status now? And the other issues we'll discuss in the executive session, because there are certain things technology-wise that we believe you can still do to monitor those pipelines. Thank you.
We have PIA now. Nobody is coming to invest. We don't have the capacity to refine any product. JMD, is it a tragedy that we passed even the PIA?
It's not a tragedy. Indeed, it's one of the most important and useful legislation that this democracy has put on the table. I still believe that without the PIA, this industry will surely, not as a result of security issues, but as a result of the fiscal structure and the regulatory framework, it will ground to a halt.
Tell the GMD to take a bow and go. Why? Because from what we have seen here, he's told us the efforts they are making to restore production.
The committee has adjourned to another date to continue with the investigation.
House Ticket will keep you abreast with developments as the investigation continues. We will also continue to bring you deliberations, decisions, and resolutions taken as the House of Representatives continues to legislate for the good of the nation. God bless Nigeria and see you next time.